Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to use liquidity sweeps, MP50s, and your candle ranges to get some super nice trades, even if the trade is ongoing. So first things first, me personally, you can either use a larger time frame range, such as this right here. So here we have a super nice swing on a hourly time frame, and then of course using the MP50, right? You would draw it out our 50% level from the top to the bottom. Then we go ahead and dial into our lower time frames. So here, it looks a little choppy, right? It's consolidating within the zone or just making moves within our 50%. You say, hey, like how would I know to take trades? So what you're looking for is your smaller scale swings, right? Whether it's to the downside or if it's to the upside. Let's say we're using this one for example here, right? So let me go ahead, cut it to this guy right here. So we're going to be using this swing, right? So here we have a high, here we have a low. We can draw our 50%. And of course, if you are using larger scale swings, you are going to get super nice profits going both ways, right? But even regardless, you can take your small scale swings just because, even then from top to the middle, you're still going to get like 50 to at least 100 ticks. So here we're going to see how price acts first, whether it breaks out to the top again or comes to the bottom. So here we're now within the 50. So we're going to look for how this candle wants to close. We're going to look at our overall trend. So here we noticed that we took out this high already, right? And what we could have seen too with it taking out the high is, I like to draw as, hey, I have some liquidity right here. Off of this candle that sweeps that high, I'm going to take a 50% of that candle, right? So it'd be right there. And you could simply take an entry off the 50% of that candle, targeting your newest candle's ranges, 50% high or low. So if you were to take that, right, let's go right there, go into our 1 minute time frame, right? So here we see I have the 50. We already got that test, right? So we could play it safe, say, hey, I want to go one sell, get my stop loss right here above that previous candle's high. And then you just go ahead and target 50% of that range. Now, while it's in motion, what I like to do, right, is first, so here we got stopped out, but that is me playing my stop a little too tight, right? So off of that first 50, you can always go for a retracement, or you can just look for this first, breakout. And here we could actually look and see that we came into a smaller order block right here at the bottom, right? So that played out. Once there, our stop was a little tight. So let's say we were to go for this next candle, right? So we take a sell. We know that we got stopped out here, so we're gonna go a little bit higher for our stop, just a little bit above that previous that previous high. So, and that stop is only $9.50, $9.50 on a micro. So once again, targeting 50%. And now that we are, right, we're around this 50%, we failed to come below it. So one thing I'd be worried about is if it holds above this 50% of the candle that swept the high from right here, and whether or not it's going to break out, right? So just to play it safe, you could always get out using your most recent swing. So here we're holding, so we could say, okay, maybe we want to see a little bit more downside, right? So me personally there, I would get out just because we see that it's having a hard time getting out, right? We also have approaching 100 SMA, so we're going to look for a little bit better confirmation, right? So I kind of want to see a retracement back up to this 50% right here. And sometimes we may not get that. And see how here you notice that it didn't come back to that 50 immediately. So one thing to be careful about is when you're in the chop. You always want to be careful when you're in chop. Just with overall price though, we swept another high from a swing. right? So this is that swing right there. And just like before, draw 50% off of that, take a short. So we have two 50% levels that we could be taking into account for a sell. Swap the liquidity at the high, and it's still a downtrend, right? It's still a downtrend. And when you are taking your trades, I highly recommend you use previous levels, previous order blocks, previous fair value gaps as confirmation for continuation. Me personally, I just use my 50% of my range to know if it's going to continue or not. Like whatever meets retracement, is it holding the retracement or is it going to pivot? See out here, we are holding that retracement. It is consolidating though, so I'd be a little bit more careful, right? And you know, if you did want to secure a profit, you can always go a little bit above that 50%. Oh, there it just stopped me out, but it's whatever. So still holding. Eventually, we tap back into that 50% of this large scale swing, and there you have that. Now let's go back into another type of setting that we might find ourselves in, right? Let's say we're only using hourly candles, right? Are we going to continue? You know, what is it going to do? So right here, we failed to sweep these lows, right? But let's say we saw this bullish candle, right, on the hourly. So what I would do is I would mark out the high and low of that hourly candle. Just right there, just right there. So right here, this is all we have, right? We have, so my white is my bullish, my black is my bearish. So we have a nice white bullish candle among a nice continuation of sell candles. So say, hey, you know, this could potentially be a pivot, but the only areas I have to take into account is this accumulation right here, all these wicks, rotating support. And this could be potentially our tracing back to take more upside. So from right here, we're going to look for our next hourly candle, right? So here we have the high and low to 50%. We want to see it to either take out a high or low. Not too interested in the 50% right now, just because it is choppy. So here we took the high of that hourly candle. And just like before, we can go to our 5-minute, right? Our lower time frame candles, right? We're going to draw the 50% of the candle that swept. And if we look immediately, we could see how price was reacting to that 50%. So you could have taken your long entry right here and target these highs up here. Something simple like that. So let's do a more accurate entry for you guys right now. So let's see, let's take a buy here. Stop loss at this bottom of the wick gives it enough room because your 50% is our higher probability. Just like that, boom, 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 boom. Eventually got stopped out, right? And that's completely okay. You know, price gets choppy. You know, you can't really do much about it. If you want to play more risk, you can always play more risk. But me personally, I'd rather not, right? So among this, how would we have gotten, you know, a better entry? Shit, I don't know. But just because I don't know doesn't mean that I can't look more into it. So here we have some clear swings, right? We are holding this well. I do see a head and shoulders now. Shoulder, head, shoulder. Right? Okay, so that's a bullish confirmation. But let's say I want a little bit more. We have our 50% right there. Hey, you know, maybe I want a little bit more to that, right? So I'm going to take the 50% of the swing, right? Draw that out. Say, okay, now we know that we have this here. But, you know, let's say I want a little bit more. You know, remember, it's better to take a more late entry if you know you have better confirmation than to take a, try and bottom with this, you know? So here we have a sweep, right? 50% of that sweep. Got your trade right there. Take a buy, target these highs. And remember, we're looking for it to hold above that sweep, at 50% of that sweep. Remember, this is pricey. This is very choppy price action, so you never know what can happen. We just want to keep in mind our highs, our lows, and where we are with price. Alright, so we formed a new small little choppy swing to the downside, right? We want to see it come back above this for price to even continue. And see how it was holding it there, right? Weren't going to get the continuation, right? So that would have been a losing trade too. So the best thing you could do for yourself, fucking just stay out of it. If you have choppy consolidation like that, it is what it is, you know. So we're gonna go back onto our hourly. We're gonna see where we are here. So here we have a bunch of bullish candles, and then now we have a bearish candle. So we say, hey, you know, where can we possibly retrace to? So we're gonna use our most recent hourly candle, draw our 50%. Okay, we're currently below the 50% hourly candle. We failed to take out the high. We still haven't taken out a low yet. So I'm interested in it taking out one or the other, right? As we can see here on the hourly, we have been getting weaker. So is this just a retracement to continue lower? Or are we going higher, right? And remember, go back into that larger time frame swing. Let me see, it's trying to pop out that 50%. So let's see what happens here. Go back into our 5. Off of that, it swept that low. Just right there. But now, right, that low, what is that? That is a retracement back to the 50% of the swing to the upside. So we know we're going to have continuation, right? Right here, we swept that hourly high. So let me just get rid of a bunch of these for you guys. We're going to go into our 5-minute. Right there, we swept a high. Draw at 50%. So we can even just use this consolidation block right here and see how it holds that, right? And sometimes, you know, that is a little bit more riskier. So what I like to do is I actually take the swing that took out liquidity, right? So from here to here, and then that swing would have ended right here actually. So we're looking for a proper retracement. Right there, we just retraced into that zone. See how price reacts around this. Are we going to continue or are we going to push up? And here we're actually pushing down, right? So off of this, you can even look for it to take out those most recent lows. But one thing we want to keep in mind is from this swing, where is that low? That low is within our 50%, so it's very valid for that target. So there, it did get a little choppy. It didn't quite get to our low right here, and that's when we would take into account our 50%. You know, you always want to have your 50% for continuation, right? So right here, you know, we had our entry from the top, and we're just seeing how this holds. Came to the upside. So what does that usually mean? Change character. And using that, you could say, hey, you know, take a nice long, you know, target the highs again. And we're looking for it to hold above this swing, or this 50% right here. So everything for me personally is just 50, 50, 50s. And there I ended up taking out the high, right? So just play the 50 as is, but don't play it by itself. You want to have your liquidity sweeps. Your strongest 50% are going to be during liquidity sweeps, right? Strongest sweeps. Strongest plays always happens to be off liquidity sweeps. Just like that. Super strong push to the downside. Your target could have just simply been bada bing, bada boom, right? And if it came down below there, could have re-entered. and look at your previous levels like that. And there you go. So you're gonna look for your best plays are gonna be something like this, right? Step 1, right? Identify a range, okay? Whether it's in hourly, right? An hourly swing, hourly candle, lower time frame, etc. You know? So anything that can be identified as a range. Step 2, right? You're gonna look at your previous levels. Previous levels, liquidity, etc. So anything you would use to take into account key pivots, right? And then step 3, you're gonna look for it to purge liquidity or those levels. So high or low of range, right? And then from there you can trade your breakout or you can trade the retracement. So now, right, you're gonna have a trade set up after that purge of the high or low. You're gonna draw your 50%. Right? And your entries tend to be for that 50%. So you can look for the retracement ranking that would give you a entry based off of that. But remember, you're not just using the 50%, you're using liquidity. If you use SMAs or whatever type of other confluences you use that. And then once you get into the trade, you look for continuation to target. And then you're done. So that's it. So these are your 5 steps, little basis of it, and that's all I'd really follow. But if you guys have any more questions, feel free to reach out, let me know.